Thank you, Valerie. And with this, we will start our...
So as Valerie mentioned, as he talked about, this forum has been designed to bring all of you together, our ALIPH family, to meet, to exchange, to talk, to raise questions, to have ideas. So we encourage you all to do that as much as possible. And from our end, we've designed a program that we hope will allow you to do just that. So the daytime program is divided into 3 different components. Plenary sessions, like we're about to start. This is designed to be more of a panel discussion, people on the stage talking and having a discussion about a larger theme. Next, we have workshops. These are more technical gatherings where speakers have been invited to prepare presentations, to talk about some of their concrete solutions to protecting heritage in various components and areas. And we highly encourage question and answer periods as well during these sessions so that you can really start to talk and exchange ideas on a specific topic. Next, we have majlis. These are divided regionally. So we have Iraq, Sahel, Afghanistan, Yemen. These majlis are informal. What we would really like is for you to talk about regional questions, challenges, solutions, concrete examples, and we have invited some people to come in advance with some concrete examples from their own projects to get the ball rolling. But after, we highly encourage as much discussion as possible. So that's the program for the daytime. The nighttime program has been kindly offered to us by our partners, the Department of Culture and Tourism at DCT, and they have planned for us 2 sets of activities. Tonight, directly following the end of the majlis, we are all invited to either walk or take a short shuttle bus ride to the Qasr Al Hosn, which is the oldest building in Abu Dhabi, where we will have a site visit followed by a dinner. And tomorrow night, we are all invited to the Louvre for a guided tour followed by a cocktail in the Art Lounge. So we hope that you will be able to join us and our partners at those 2 events. Next, more about just sort of housekeeping things. So to all the speakers who are invited to the plenary sessions, when you come on stage, just a quick reminder to hold the microphone sort of close to your chin, because this session is being recorded and we have interpreters, so we need to capture your voice as much as we can. Second, as I'm sure you've already found, because I see people wearing them, we have headsets. There is simultaneous translation for nearly all of the sessions. So just a note, if you could try to remember to leave your headset at the door when you leave, and then pick up a new headset at the next door, it will help us keep track of the technology as much as possible. So thank you for your kind consideration in that. And finally, we invite you to go and see the ALIPH exhibition, which is outside the Cultural Foundation in the arcade. We're kind of forcing you to go by it tonight, so you will see it, but if you want to spend a little bit more time with it, then during breaks or whenever you have a moment, to go look at the panels. But additionally, there's an augmented reality component to the exhibition, and we have provided iPads at the entrance to the Cultural Foundation, and my colleagues are there to guide you through, and you can, my favorite part are the 3D scans, and you can sort of move and walk through the Arch of Stefan on your iPad. It's pretty cool. So please, I encourage you to check it out. And I think that's it for all of the housekeeping and announcements. So let's start with the first panel, which is 6 years on, taking stock of ALIPH. So I would like to call to the stage, please, Her Excellency Katerina Shuyeva, Mr. Wendayan, thank you. Please, here. Dr. Laith Hussein. Dr. Samuel Sidibe. Hello. Dr. Mariette Westerman. And Ms. Bénédicte de Montlord. Good to see you. Oh, are you okay? We have you all the way at the end. I'm sorry. But you take it. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. It's lovely to see you all here. After months and months of planning to be on the stage with you, it's a great honor. So let's get things started. 6 years ago, ALIPH was founded as one of the responses to abate the destruction of cultural heritage in conflict areas. And this session is really to talk more about the context in which ALIPH was founded, the reasons, the feelings at the time, to go over a little bit about the development of ALIPH, some of its major achievements in your opinion, and to think not too much, because we don't want to steal from Valerie's final plenary session, but think a little bit about the future as well. So, Samuel Sidibe, if I can start with you, please. So you were from Mali, and we all remember how cultural heritage was being targeted for destruction in the 2010s. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what it was like at the time and some of the events that happened and how you felt as a Malian and as a heritage professional?
Merci. J'espère que ça marche. Ok. Merci beaucoup de me donner la.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra, for giving me the chance to talk about the situation in Mali and donc the work. We in Mali, we had the assaults and attacks by jihadists in Timbuktu, who have prevented the population from doing the ritual and for celebrating their so life, and to use and the minaret of Timbuktu. It was one of the targeted for this jihadist. Donc, as well, there is a situation of instability and insecurity in the country. The north of the country is still under and witnessing violence, and since 2008 and as well we have witnessed the massive destructions of the village, the Pays de Gonf. We have a wealth of heritages, and this is constitute for us a big preoccupation for us in Mali. We haven't been able to improve the security situation, and the heritage is still in jeopardy. So the risk is as well, add to that the risk of climate change, which is an actual reality in Mali, where desertification, which for many factors are preventing the cultural traditions to subsist. And this has is affecting the whole country, and the movement of the population, and other factors are the desertification, which has been crippling the movement of population. This risk are still effective and having an effect on the heritage in Mali. At ALIPH, in Mali, we think about what can ALIPH do to help us in preserving our heritage in terms of we have seen photos of this in the videos which have been played beforehand. So, and I think that we will see some actions taken in the months to come, and we need some restoration works will be brought to the Laskar Mohammed, and as well, like sustainable conservation is very important. This sustainable conservation will allow populations to continue to practice their traditional rituals and traditional life, and by bringing and reviving some natural elements of those who knows this region, and they know that that desertification has erased and has abolished all the instruments and the equipments needed for construction and for restoration. So this will allow as well to create a momentum to resume the construction works and restoration works, and as well there is like a very strong erosions being hitting this part of the region, and we need to fight that. Donc ALIPH as well will intervene as well to conserve or to safeguard the architectures of the monuments there in this area, which has been victim to violence and to attacks in this region. The violence that have been witnessed by this region have not only had their toll on the monuments as well on the population who were displaced to other secure areas. And to me, I would like to say that and the restoration and the conservation of the heritage is a collective responsibility, and as well the engagement of the population is important, and the population Hagar who have been victim of all these attacks and all this violence. What we need to take to build is confidence for this population to return to these areas. So contributions need to go to these areas who have been at the center of this violence, and then the intervention of ALIPH, they must have access or must reach out to the population and the communities. And thank you for your good listening. Thank you for this. You have mentioned many bullet points that we will be discussing throughout this session. Thank you for your intervention, and the situation is very dangerous, and it has many effects on the communities, and we have to consider as well what is before and after the conflict. And as you have said, the whole population in Mali and regions, and ALIPH has a lot to do in Mali. Dr. Dave, I would like to.
For the director of the State Board of Antiquities and Heritage in Iraq, and when Daesh was targeting cultural heritage in your country, can you talk to us a little bit about your feelings at the time, also as a cultural heritage professional, but also as an Iraqi citizen to witness this destruction?
شكرا جزيلا لهذا
Thanks so much for such a great forum, which would manifest the vision of ALIPH on the preservation and the safeguarding of the heritage. And because Daesh and ISIS has very violent attacks against our heritage sites in the north part of Iraq, especially in Mosul, the Daesh has explored and blew up most of the mosques and the churches, in addition to the World Heritage sites that were at risk against because of the violent actions of ISIS and Daesh, and they have make a destruction to such sites. As you can see, destruction is in Mosul. It's a full-scale destruction. They haven't left anything because they destroy everything that represents the harmony among the Iraqi citizens. And we appreciate the support of ALIPH. And in Iraq, we represent the real people of Iraq. We have many projects in Iraq. We have 25 projects in Iraq that were initiated by ALIPH since its inception. The ALIPH has a real partnership with Iraq because Iraq is so affected by Daesh activities. We have a real harmony and intimacy between ALIPH and the Department of Culture and Antiquities in Iraq. And now you can find everywhere in Iraq, you have a great contribution of ALIPH in each part of Iraq regarding safeguarding the heritage site. It's not only about reconstruction. It's not only about reconstruction and restoration, but to train the people and to have qualified teams for restoration of heritage sites which reflect the reality of Iraq community. ALIPH is continuing its work in Iraq after such destruction. Expect that we would have more projects which are aiming at protecting and safeguarding the heritage and the civilization of Iraq. So ALIPH is not concerned only with the areas affected by Daesh. For example, 2 years ago, there was a collapse of the biggest rainbow in El Madain. So as a quick response by ALIPH, it has sent experts to the region and they have made an assessment of the damages and they have been working greatly to preserve this heritage, and also they try to avoid the collapse of such a heritage monument. And also the second stage, there will be full reconstruction of this monument, and also to avoid the full collapse of such a monument. So ALIPH is extending its support not only to the areas where the terrorism was doing such activities, but other areas also.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, and for bringing up the Arch of Ctesiphon as well as an example of another kind of, not targeted by Daesh, as you say, but also a very, very important site that needs protection. And we saw some images of it in the video earlier, and if you see the AR app later, you can tour around it as well. So, but thank you very much for that, for your comments, and also for bringing up that indeed we're working together across the country. It's not just in the north, but in the south as well, and we have 25 projects plus, with you, and for that, we greatly value our partnership.
أنا أتوقع العراق هو يمكن أكثر مستفيد من ألف في هذا.
I think Iraq is one of the countries that benefited much from ALIPH, and many happy returns for ALIPH Foundation. شكرا جزيلا.
Benedict, if we can turn to you for a few moments, please. So now you're president and CEO of the World Monuments Fund, but in 2016, 2017, you were cultural counselor of the French Embassy to the United States. And at that time, you organized an event at the Met dedicated to the idea of ALIPH. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that event and the feelings at the time?
Thank you so much.
Oh.
Thank you so much.
I think still.
Is it working?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Sandra, for inviting me to speak in my previous capacity, in fact. So yeah, I think we are all passionate about history, so let's do a little bit of history of ALIPH. And so indeed, in 2016, in August, all of a sudden, I received a phone call from Paris saying, can you organize an event in 3 weeks at the Met? So I don't know if any of you have tried to organize an event in New York. It's impossible to have the Met in 3 weeks. And it's because the president has this idea of launching a foundation for cultural heritage preservation. And it was all generated, the starting point was the destruction of the Temple of Bel in Palmyra that we all remember in 2015. And following that, I think there was a general awareness that we needed to act, that all the mechanisms and institutions in place were not enough. So at that time, I know Bariza Ariari played an important role in convincing President Hollande to commission a report from Jean-Luc Martinez trying to explore what could be done to protect heritage in front of terrorist acts. And that led him to appoint Jack Lang and to start talking, in particular, with the United Arab Emirates about what could be created. So at the UN General Assembly in September, we organized that event where the whole idea was to announce the creation of a foundation. At that time, it was not called ALIPH, that they were going to raise 100 million, and it was very daring because at that time there was no money either. So 100 million from public and private donor, and that was also part of the innovation element of this, is that for once it was not only governments coming together, but the governments with the civil society. And the goal here was to create an institution that could act quickly. I think this first step of asking us to organize an event in 3 weeks at the Met was a good example of what led to the temple of ALIPH. And in fact, we got not only the Met, President Hollande, Jack Lang, but also the Vice President at that time, Joe Biden. So that was pretty good. And the idea was to act quickly to preserve heritage in front of terrorist acts. And we're going to talk about that later, and in my current capacity at World Monument Fund, but I think that's really one of the interesting development of ALIPH, is that it's not anymore just reacting to terrorist act, but it's much wider, exploring all the interaction between heritage and crisis. The other element of this moment in New York, preceding the conference here in Abu Dhabi, was to try to gather both a board and a scientific committee as international as possible, and to have a great representation from every region of the world. And we had the pleasure of creating meetings with Mariette, who is here, and so that was very fruitful, as you can see, and Richard in Washington. And so that was also the ambition of ALIPH at the beginning, to have an organization as wide as possible, as international as possible, gathering all the regions of the world. And the last word about that is that I think my surprise as organizing all of that in New York was to see what enthusiasm and what openness was there, because I think there was indeed a general awareness that something had to be done, that there was a necessity for such a foundation, and everybody was grateful for all the first partners to come together and to make it happen.
Thank you. That's done. It's gratifying to know that ALIPH's way of action started from the very first moment, and that the élan has not died down at all, that there's still this energy, that there's this reactivity, responsiveness, but also this feeling, I think, that everybody in this room still feels of general goodwill and energy to get this work done. So it's been, after 6+ years, the fact that this feeling is still burning in us, I think speaks a lot to the importance of what we're all trying to do. Thank you. Diane, I would like to come to you now, please. Okay, great. So China has been associated with the ALIPH since the beginning. Can you talk to us a little bit about why cultural heritage protection is so important for China, and why also did China choose to join ALIPH when it did?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. And je suis plus à l'aise pour vous répondre en français.
Je vous en prie. Oui.
Donc, je profite.
I would like to grasp this opportunity to express my happiness, sincere happiness to be here within my family. I missed you a lot during these last 3 years. I would like also to thank our host from the UAE government, from the Department of Culture and Tourism, and all the team from ALIPH for this great occasion to take part in this forum. Why the heritage is a priority in China? The response is simple and long at the same time. Why? China has a long history. For more than 500 years, the heritage constitutes the mirror of this rich culture and of this resistant nation. Cultural heritage constitutes for us the pride, the national pride that identifies China. Protection is important for this cultural heritage. It is not an easy task. This is why it should be put as a priority to mobilize all necessary resources, politics, economics, financial, cultural, and human, in order to have and protect this heritage and prevent it from any harms. And also to safeguard and promote the cultural diversity at the world level. We would like to know that throughout the years, thanks to the President's interest in cultural heritage and his extraordinary leadership, the protection and valorization of the cultural heritage became a consensus, a solid one of great importance inside China, which is at the same time political, economical, cultural, and social. Now it is clear that China decided to join ALIPH thanks to the influence of many political wills at the high level of the state, including the UAE, France, China, and definitely many other countries whose representatives are here meeting today, like 6 years ago. In addition, politics are not the only reason for this. Politics consider this as an important cause to keep the memory of the humanity and help people in difficulties and prevent the concerned spirits. This is related to the culture of China that respects the generosity of the human being's nature, and Practically, China wants to continue in this ambitious goal and contribute in building together a community at the cultural national level with a shared future. Finally, China believes in cooperation and coordination. ALIPH was born thanks to a partnership between states, institutions, foundations, and also special individuals. We are ready to enter in deep in this in depth this partnership to protect it from vandalism, from illicit trafficking, and other dangers, as well as the 21st century challenges like the artificial intelligence, the climate change, big data, and also we would like to say that our modalities and protection of the cultural heritage is important in order to be more adapt to this world that is in continuous mutation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And it's very interesting to think about as you were talking about the confluence of Chinese ideals and ALIPH's ideals and how they come together and complement each other, really. It's very, very interesting. And also you bring up other points that haven't been raised yet about the fight against the illicit traffic of cultural goods, which we all know is a serious issue that needs to be addressed, and new technologies as well. And so thank you very much for bringing up those new points also. So I would like to, we've talked a little bit about the context in which ALIPH was founded, some of the people who were there at the time. Let's talk now a little bit about the development of ALIPH since that moment. So Mariette, you are an eminent professional and you've been a member of the ALIPH Foundation Board since the very beginning. And as Bénédicte said, you were there really, really, really from the beginning. So after now 4.5 years of concrete action of ALIPH in the field, could you share with us some conclusions that you have about ALIPH results and also maybe about its governance to date?
Thank you very much, Sandra, for leading us through the journey so beautifully. I want to say first of all, how special it is to be here in Abu Dhabi, one of the founding members of ALIPH, of course, together with the government of France. And before I answer your question, which I do want to do, I want to pay special tribute to Bénédicte here on the podium, who, together with Jack Lang, she represented Jack Lang and President Hollande so beautifully as the senior cultural diplomat in New York. And to the point of action, 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 which is the motto of ALIPH, I want to say you just saw it in action. Bénédicte just wouldn't take no for an answer. So she would come, you know, at the time I was at the foundation. I didn't have my current job as Vice Chancellor of NYU Abu Dhabi. I was at the time one of these private funders that ALIPH didn't exist yet, but that the government of France and the government of Abu Dhabi were trying to bring together on the model of the global fund for the remediation of the great pandemics, HIV/AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis. And using that model, that public-private model where mostly governments support and work together to act more quickly and effectively on the ground in remediating these pandemics out of their offices in Geneva, an organization that's existed for more than 20 years, using that global fund model and applying it to cultural heritage was the great innovation, I think. It wasn't as if there weren't great cultural heritage protection organizations. We've heard from several of them already today. UNESCO is a critical partner. But we all know that more was needed. And Bénédicte just never took no for an answer when I said, well, I'm a little bit busy. Melon isn't really doing this. And so it was really working through the conference here in December 2017 in Abu Dhabi, seeing how much had been accomplished by the two countries, bringing these leaders together from all around the world and from public and private organizations. I think that was the founding principle, and we've learned so much in the evolution of ALIPH, how important that has been. So that is what I would want to say when you ask about the evolution, the numbers that you've heard speak for themselves. You know, we started maybe in 8 countries, and before long, we're now working in more than 36 countries. More than, you know, hundreds of projects. When you hear about the projects, as you later will today, I think in Ukraine, for example, when we talk about Ukraine as an initiative, we're talking about 150 projects. It's that sort of scale that we were able to achieve that I think has been a very important part of the journey. And I think it is all about bringing governments and private partners together, NGOs and experts, funders, and especially the people on the ground. ALIPH was not created to replace all these other entities at all. We're supposed to be value added and bring funds quickly where we can. We don't do the work on the ground ourselves. We work with all of the partners, so many of you here represented today, and we're very grateful that you're here. To the action, action, action mantra that His Excellency Mohammed al-Mubarak has already referred to, I would like to add collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. We cannot do this work alone. We don't want to do it alone. And that has been a very fundamental principle of the work. The last thing I will say about the evolution and our governance conversations over the years with this amazing board that Wendy-Jan and others have been part of from the start, is that we've begun to see better why there is a longevity need for ALIPH. Our immediate emergency of course, was the Daesh attacks. But we quickly began to see that if you're going to be an effective cultural heritage protection organization, you need to work and look across the world. All human beings make cultural heritage. We hand things out on to others. Our inheritance is heritage, right? That we hand it on. All cultures do it, all countries do it, all peoples do it, all religions do it. And so that unites us as human beings. But as our executive director, Valérie, has already said, it also can divide us. And of course, what we really began to see more and more clearly, I think, are these patterns where cultural heritage can be weaponized, used to attack other cultural heritage, the heritage of others. And so I think our mission has become yet clearer, that we are here to help build peace, a sustainable future for all. And in that regard, I was very moved, as I'm sure we all were, by the testimony from this marvelous man talking about the minaret of Jam and how much had been lost not just with the attacks on the minaret and the destruction of the minaret, but with the loss of ethnic diversity, people coming together and celebrate this heritage we all share. I think that's the most important lesson that I've learned, even as a long-standing art historical professional, from the work that ALIPH does.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for highlighting what my job of talking about how many projects we've done, we've funded in so short a time. But also for bringing up the point of this weaponization of cultural heritage, that it is at the same time the thing that unites us or communities or people, but then because of this unifying factor becomes a target, and that it becomes this weapon of war, and for that reason needs to be on the international stage, prominently on the international stage, to be discussed at fora like this, but also across all of the different kinds of partners that you mentioned, so that we are collectively aware of what it concretely means to destroy cultural heritage and the importance of protecting it. I'd like to turn now to Katerina. Thank you very much for joining us amidst, to take the time to come all this way and to be with us. It is greatly appreciated. And so, Katerina, you come from a country that is now Ukraine. Well, it is not now Ukraine. A country that is Ukraine that is now a priority for ALIPH and has been for the past year. Can you talk to us a little bit about what it's been like to work, with ALIPH in a context of a crisis, and maybe perhaps a few ideas of the pressing needs that you have, and how ALIPH has been able to respond to those needs to date.
It's working. Thanks. First of all, I would like, of course, to thank you very much, to thank the ALIPH Foundation, to thank Abu Dhabi city authorities and the United Arab Emirates for the possibility to be in here. It was really a long journey, and in our situation, it's difficult to take these few days to be here, and it's very important for all of us to have this voice. I will try not to put all my words in one speech and left something for next part of discussion, but I would like to bring a little bit more context about Ukrainian situation, just to understand in the whole picture. Ukraine has a huge amount of cultural heritage objects. There are more than 160,000 objects of immovable heritage just registered, and who knows how many archaeological objects are still undiscovered, for example. And we have around 12 million objects of the museum fund in municipal and national museums. It's the number without the private collections. And we have a huge amount of archival documents and different archives in regional and national, and some organizational archives, etc., etc., and around 2,000 museums, also national and municipal. So when the full invasion, armed invasion started, we have faced it with a number of challenges. Unfortunately, we have this story is also long, because when the Crimea Peninsula, as a part of Ukraine, was occupied by Russia in 2014, we started. At that time, I was a representative of civil society and museum community, and we started with a number of initiatives. And we have a very well self-organized civil society. I mean, our professional communities, like NGOs, like ICOM Committee, ICOMOS, and we hope to establish also finally the Blue Shield Committee in Ukraine. We try to work, and we try to share the responsibility with the state. And now, during my last year, I'm representative of the Ministry of Culture, and must have a kind of bird view. And we see a number of challenges and a strong and weak side of this situation. So we have faced with two main challenges: how to guarantee the sustainability of the state bodies and authorities at local levels, etc., because occupation and armed invasion started so fast and more or less unexpectedly for many people in Ukraine. And of course, we have a massive, let's say, exodus of people from the most dangerous regions. We have a deficit of professionals for the moment, because a number of professionals have left the country. And we have, for example, to face with empty museums where we have to do any kind of evacuations or something like that. And we also have to manage all this protection and security measures. And what was very important started from the first day of this full-scale invasion. We started to communicate. It was unprecedented numbers of Zooms and other kind of communications. 24 hours per day, 7 days or weeks, etc. Because it was so important, first, to explain the situation, to obtain the support, and to make Ukrainian cultural heritage, and not only cultural heritage, but also in culture in general, visible for whole world. it was a kind of dilemma that, for example, many colleagues told, so you can or cannot cancel Russian culture, etc., just to prohibit them or something like that. But we have chosen the strategy to make Ukrainian culture and richness of this culture more open to the world. And that is why we have contacted with a number of partners. And what I must say, it's my great appreciation, my personal and from our teams, numerous teams in our country, to ALIPH Foundation, because I will add also another word for previous, flexibility. Mutual understanding, flexibility, flexibility, and flexibility. Because, thank you. Because when you have so massive attacks on the whole territory. So when we just woke up at 21st of January of last year, we understood that every large city is under attack, under missiles attack. It was unbelievable situation for many of us. And our plans about evacuation and other ideas just was broken in 1 minute, because you do not have any safe place in the country. And that was very important when we started to these negotiations and dialogue about the support, financial support or in-kind support. It was very important to be as flexible as possible. Just to also to add a small detail, a number of members of our very small team on heritage in the Ministry of Culture of that time were in different regions in this day. And during the next 2 months, we have, mainly a couple of people just almost always online, and a number of our team members, just in shelters, because they didn't have internet, they have just artillery shellings on their sides. And it was very difficult to organize all these topics, and we understood that, of course, taking into account that the state machine, I mean this bureaucracy machine, still exists despite the war, we must be very flexible. And I also repeat all the time that during this year, only one possible way to protect or even to do something with the cultural heritage objects, movable or immovable, was possible just thanks to more or less balanced cooperation of the state and local authorities and national authorities, of the NGO sectors and private partners. And ALIPH is one of the main partners who was very open during all this time, who was very friendly, very flexible, because taking into account that this number of objects and institutions which need support, ALIPH have supported more than 160 institutions in Ukraine, directly or indirectly through NGOs or charity foundations which operate with these funds also more flexible than state or municipal institutions. It was only the one way to realize, to do all the things we need. And taking into account that the total sum was very large as for Ukrainian institutions, it was almost 4 million, more than 3,800,000 of euros during this time. It was crucial for a number of museums and other institutions, because I cannot speak about it openly, but many, for example, evacuation processes were organized also thanks to the support. So you help us to save all these objects and to make more, the feeling of sustainability for our people. And I'm very grateful for it, and all of us are very grateful for it. I can say, and I also would like to thank His Excellency Mohammed Al-Mubarak, because he indicated that it's very important to action in time. In times of war, not only the after, but if we can do something now, we must do it. And that is why the cooperation with ALIPH is so important and so fruitful, because any kind of support, financial or in kind, it's not only about the money, it's about the responsibility and effectiveness. And taking into account that it could be public money, money from public donors or private donors, it's a high responsibility to invest all these funds in right place, in right manner, in proper manner, because all the things in the future depend on those things and our choice in nowadays. So thank you very much, and I will try to add maybe some details later. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for explaining so concretely and in such detail what it was like in those first moments as well, and the this sort of waking up and this and your whole and what it's like to have your whole world change, you know, overnight. I mean, I think what Mariette said about partnerships, about making contact with people, you know, who need the support of ALIPH, who I think about, you know, Dr. Maya Kaminko, who's our scientific director, who was on the phone within hours as well to find you and your colleagues to be, so that we could be flexible and that we could, you know, be there as much as we can, you know, from the comfort of Geneva to support you and your colleagues in whatever way is possible. And that this ALIPH spirit that was started in New York, now we see this thread, I hope, of kind of the ALIPH story and an evolution of what we've been trying to achieve, you know, with the support of everybody here on stage, with all of you in the room. Laith, if we can come back to you just for a few more moments, because Ukraine, of course, is a priority country, as is Iraq for ALIPH. You've talked about the many of the projects that we've had together, over 25, in Mosul, the Arch of Ctesiphon. Can you talk just a little bit more about sort of this partnership and how ALIPH has responded, and sort of this now we've got, I mean, with Ukraine, it's been a year. With Iraq, it's been since our founding. So a little bit more about this connection that we have, this working relationship that we've been able to develop over the past number of years.
Yes, since the inception of ALIPH, our relationship has been evolved. Of course, ALIPH is one of the serious organizations regarding its work and activities, in addition to quick response to the most crucial problems and issues in Iraq. But the real impact is because of ALIPH and their presence in our region and in Mosul, and also the projects that have been developed are real, and most of the projects are successful, and it can reflect the impact of ALIPH, which would be left in the region, especially in the areas affected by terrorism and the terrorists who are trying to defame the history of the region. And now ALIPH is trying to give back the spirit to the local community, and now we are concentrating on through our activities and through ALIPH to develop the human capabilities in the region. And this would be the real sustainability. And it's not all about maintaining or maintenance or reconstruction or preservation, but we need to have a new generation who need to learn and to have entrepreneurship. And one of the most contributions of ALIPH and its slogans is to develop the capabilities through training, and this is that is important, and this is one of the important actions of ALIPH regarding the rehabilitation of Mosul Civilization Museum. After the rehabilitation and restoration of the museum, then what would happen? What is next? And what would happen to the museum after the restoration of the museum? We need the real answer to this question. So we are so interested in building the capabilities. Now we have a very aware generation that have witnessed the impact and the actions of terrorism. So we need to build the capabilities of our people, and this would be clear. And through the next years, ALIPH has give support. It has not been hesitant to give full support, and it has worked hand in hand to give assistance and contribute to the evolution and the restoration of our sites. Even if we have the maintenance and more money was needed, more financial assistance, and ALIPH has supported us and give us real support. As I said, we have 25 projects and expect to have more projects in other areas in Baghdad. Now we have more and more heritage sites and civilization sites which are extremely important, and ALIPH has realized after we submitted our needs for maintenance and preservation, ALIPH has appreciated and realized the importance of these sites and has set real strategy and even infrastructure for heritage sites. We have also issues in Marjan area in the middle of Baghdad because it's suffering from underground water. How can we overcome such issues of underground water? Thanks to the experts of ALIPH, so they can overcome such challenges, and ALIPH can overcome such issues and put solutions and to have sustainable action. As you said, Al-Mada'in or Taisufon, this is a tourist destination. This region is related to the local communities. ALIPH has a vision of our vision, and it has also in its first stage, it has completed it, and now we are in the second stage and the phase to develop and the whole area so it can restore it back to its original status and to rehabilitate and restore the museum for this area. It's not only about the completion of a project, but this would be a real tourist destination. So the real motive is not about maintaining and preserving the heritage sites, but to have sustainable action. This would be a real tourist destination, which would incur money and income to the area. And thanks to ALIPH, ALIPH makes it sustainable and to continuing action for reviving this site and to add a great value as a tourist destination, and this would be very promising. This is one example of many examples that I cannot count now for even the churches. The churches destruction doesn't only include mosques but churches, and ALIPH is restoring many and rehabilitating many churches for the community. It's not only about restoration of mosques and but also churches and worship houses. And this is the real vision of ALIPH that has value to the Iraqi community.
Thank you. Thank you. And for bringing up the mausoleum, which of course is a very important project for ALIPH and for our partners, and to think about, I mean, I appreciate your comments because it starts to think about the future as well, right? That it's, you know, the Mausoleum Museum is one of the flagship projects that was one of our first projects that we engaged in with you and with the Smithsonian and the Musée du Louvre and now the World Monuments Fund. And so now we're at the stage to think about what happens next, and for tourism to think about the economic impact that opening it up could have, that the training and knowledge that people in Mosul can have in order to work at the museum and for the museum are all critical issues that are, you know, the fruit of protecting cultural heritage. So thank you very much. Benedict, in your capacity now as CEO and President of the World Monuments Fund, which is a valuable partner for ALIPH, we have many projects together in several countries. Can you talk a little bit more about the nature of this partnership, and maybe also if you can touch on how you see ALIPH changing the landscape of cultural heritage protection over the past number of years?
Okay, so thank you, Sandra, and thank you. I mean, I think all of us here, professionals of cultural heritage, are so humbled by people on the ground, like you, Katerina, and you, Dr. Leith, because we are really here at the service and to try to help all those people who are so courageous on the field. So to answer your question as quick as I can, Sandra, so first I think ALIPH changed the field because of funding. I think one of my first realization when I started our Monuments Fund was to realize how underfunded this whole field was. If you compare with with natural resources protection, we all know they are giant organizations, billions of dollars, and the field natural resources are, yes, disappearing, yes, need to be protected, but cultural resources are also disappearing, and they are also an unrenewable resource. And so everybody needs to mobilize, and this is what ALIPH did. So one, funding available. Of course, all of us, many organizations in this room have been doing protection in conflict zones. At World Monuments Fund, we came in Cambodia right after the fall of the Khmer Rouge. We are active in Babylon. But the difference that ALIPH makes is that it's systematic. You have a place where you can go. You don't have to do a new effort of fundraising. You can go there and solicit grants. And I think that's really important because sometimes, like for Ukraine, it was easier to raise funds. But for other situations, it's not as easy, and you can always talk to ALIPH. So that's number one. Number two is that I think the cooperation with ALIPH has allowed us to explore the many different ways in which heritage interacts with conflict and with many different lenses. So one is, for instance, what we are doing in Yemen, being active while conflict is still going on, when there is still such insecurities that you cannot go there. For example, at the moment, we've been restoring the Imam Palace, we are restoring the Hammam al-Mudaffar with the support of ALIPH, and creating guidelines for the future. So I think that's a great example where we train people abroad and we are active through the Yemeni partners. That's number one. Number two is what do you do in the immediate aftermath of conflict? And Dr. Leith spoke a lot about Mosul, and we are so honored that ALIPH asked us to join the coalition to look at the design of the new Mosul Museum. And that's really important because it's how heritage is not only targeted. We've talked a lot about the ways that heritage is more and more targeted in times of conflict. But heritage can also be part of the solution in post-conflict recovery. And that's what, with all the partners, in particular ALIPH, we're trying to do in Mosul, is having the new Mosul Museum as a cultural hub, as an important component of the urban renewal of the city of Mosul. But I think heritage can participate in that endeavor, not only with amazing places like the Mosul Museum, but sometimes smaller but very symbolic places. For instance, we were very grateful to ALIPH to consider a project of rebuilding a shrine of the Yazidi community. It's very important to be inclusive and not only to focus on worldwide, well-known monuments, World Heritage List monuments, but also to look at what certain monuments mean for underrepresented community, for minorities, and that was exactly the example of that shrine of the Yazidi community in northern Iraq. As we all know, they were targeted, there was a genocide against them, and rebuilding their shrine is really a way to give them recognition of what happened to them, to allow them to come back. And finally, and that will be my last point, ALIPH is also engaged with us in much longer term interaction between heritage and conflict. And that's long-term cultural diplomacy. And so we are partnering on a project in Ani. So it's at the border between Turkey and Armenia. And here, I mean, it's been a long time that there was hostilities, but it's still very important because through heritage, we can have a team there, and that's extremely rare in that region, composed by both Armenian and Turkish people. And that means that even when the political tensions are still extremely high, through heritage, you can create the beginning of a dialogue around those monuments between people. And finally, because I think we're so late in time that I won't have the opportunity to take the floor, I just want to say a big thank you and all my admiration to my friend Valérie, because I think he's not been quoted enough today, because I know how it is to lead an organization, and really all the difference that has been made in the last 6 years is quite amazing, that we are all here today, that so many projects have been created, that there was a vision, but there is one thing to have a vision, it's quite easy, but then you have to implement it, and that's a whole other thing. So thank you to Valerie. And to the amazing team is gathered, because it's also a field that is not developed enough, so it's very difficult to find, like, all around the world, the best professional to train new people, and he's been doing that, and you're a good representative of this, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I mean, thank you for being so eloquently explaining our motto, protecting heritage to build peace, with all of those points. I mean, it's in every way you've exemplified that the hashtag that we use. So a little, yeah. So thank you very much for that. So finally, I would like to ask Samuel, Diane, and Mariette, and perhaps we'll start with you, Mariette. Just to touch on a few of the lessons that we can draw, and just, you know, not thinking too much into the future, because that's going to happen tomorrow, but just as a summary of some of the lessons for the past few years.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Thank you, Your Excellency Katerina, for saying flexibility, flexibility, flexibility. We do everything in threes, you know, part of our Frenchness, I think. But we are really of all countries and all places. I think one of the important lessons for our board now, and the way we worked with this brilliant scientific committee that we're so grateful for, is evolving how we thought about what counted as the heritage that was eligible for our funding. The funding is so critical. And of course, because we reacted so much to those destructions in Syria that Daesh was wreaking, and also in Iraq, we were at first very focused on monuments in the kind of traditional World Monument Fund that Benedict is also evolving. And very quickly you realize that to make more of these interventions, that it is not ultimately about preserving this cultural heritage in its own right just because it's out there, but that it's all about the people who made it long ago, the people who live with it today, who may be from other cultures, in fact, the people who need it for economic and tourism development and sustenance, in fact. And so we began first, two things to say there, and then I'll stop. The first is to say that we began to disentangle this artificial distinction between tangible and intangible heritage. I don't think there's any intangible heritage. It all goes through our bodies, through our buildings, through our objects. So we began to see, for example, that in different countries, in Africa and Central Asia, we've done this, training the mud brick layers in traditional mud brick techniques. That's training a person, and that person carries the heritage through their work. It may be intangible as an idea, but it's very tangible as a practice, allowing for that kind of work and beginning to fund that. That was a major move we made in early years, led by the ALIPH team. So I think that's very significant. And the second thing I would say is that I hope we can all pull together. We need obviously more funding. The boat needs to grow, as Vice Chairman of ALIPH, Mohammed Mubarak, said this morning. The boat needs to grow. And I think a direction in which it needs to grow is expanding this range of people we see in the room with us today, because civil society and learning in civil society is critical, almost as a preventative for needing even intervention to come. We need to grow the network of people who learn, young kids who learn about why this is important in school. In my own university, we're working very hard on this, so that we're not only preparing experts, we're preparing citizens to care about the cultural heritage of all and not just their own ethnic or local community. So I think that we will see components of this work layered into the grants that ALIPH makes. I think we're already seeing it, and I'm hoping myself that we can do a little bit more in that direction.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Please.
Oui, effectivement, l'ALIPH a réussi à créer en seulement 6 ans.
ALIPH have managed to create this raising awareness. Having started with a few projects in this part of the world, nowadays it can boast of having or conducting 124 projects around the world. We need more efforts in order to sensibilize, to promote at an international level. ALIPH has always respected has called on the international community to contribute in terms of financing, and as well to raise awareness about the importance of its role. Nowadays we have more Chinese partners who are as well helping in financing ALIPH. So we are ready, set to work and to in Asia and in order to raise awareness in more regions and more countries, and later on become an active actors and beneficiaries of ALIPH at a later stage. We are glad and have a pleasure to work together more and more in the future. Wouldn't like to repeat what have been mentioned earlier in terms of flexibility. I think that ALIPH is a model in itself, and in terms of flexibility, and as a proof to that and evidence, the evidence to that is what ALIPH has achieved in terms of museums. And I would like to add that I think that the need to be more communicative in terms in all what concerns ALIPH, we need more efforts in terms of building relations and networking and communicating. I think ALIPH, it is important that ALIPH do not confine its efforts or on the conservation of the physical heritage, but as well on the moral heritage, and in order the foundations of heritage is not only physical but can be as well immaterial or moral. And I think the challenge, the most important challenges are those concerning the moral and immaterial heritage. I think the ALIPH can go further in this direction and this domain by laying out preventive, more solid preventive strategies, and I can say Mali is in a dire situation and wouldn't be able to get out of this situation without the help. I think the prevention is key to this, and ALIPH can guide or can direct its efforts into maintaining and conserving the moral heritage, and the question of prevention is essential in order not to be dragged into the zones of conflicts that we can have prevent before they occur. Thank you. That's true, Katrina.
Floor for the final question of this plenary. So what lessons or guidance would you offer ALIPH?
It's a difficult question. We have to think, I guess,
okay.
to think together. But so I would like just to bring to the table some thoughts after these discussions, because maybe, of course, one day researchers will sign an article or dissertation on these processes. But for the moment, I guess that we have a long, we see a kind of evolution of this ways of supporting of cultural heritage from some very, it's difficult for me even to describe it for now, because we also have to think about it, but it was a long journey from some kind of very official and very, how to say it, very, not even concrete, but let's say very official project focused on a specific object, not for people, not on communities, but from objects, and we are going to people. And it is a very interesting, as for me, it's a very interesting process of establishing or development of a kind of worldwide ecosystem of cultural heritage protection and shared responsibility. In previous time, for example, in our country, and I guess in many other countries too, the state was the main responsible or main owner of objects, and it must be responsible for everything, to coordinate, to manage everything, etc. And we are now coming calm and not very fast, but coming to quite another model of shared responsibility and of this development of this ecosystem at our level. And it is a challenge. It is difficult to proceed in time of war, but it's only one, I guess we do not have any choice. It's the most effective way to not only to protect, but to develop, to build for future, something for future. And it could be one of the most significant thing. So here in this auditory, there are people who are in fact the cornerstones of this new ecosystem, which developed since, let's say, since the time of after Second World War, during all these decades. And we have also to think, to analyze how it going on. And I guess some very important detail we will find on this way. It's not, of course, guidelines. And we will be more and more, I guess, focused on people, because all depends on people. You can do nothing with objects without people, I'm sorry. And this kind of forum, this kind of analytic and discussion, very well discussed topics must open for all of us many important ways for action. So thank you very much. Thank you for this possibility of thinking, the possibility of discussing, and to meet all of you. And I guess it's the first, this forum after, please not to do it every 6 years, better every 2 years at least. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That is a beautiful way to conclude this panel. Thank you so much to all the panelists for this great discussion. Thank you all for your attention. Now there's a coffee break, and we'll come back in about 15 minutes for the next plenary on climate change. Thank you.